Sometimes the most powerful battles we face are not on the outside, but within our own minds. A single negative thought can grow into a chain that holds us back from everything we are meant to become. That's why today's message is simple but life-changing. Drop that thought. Not every thought deserves your attention, because not everything that enters your mind is meant to take root in your heart. Some thoughts are nothing more than passing shadows, whispers of fear, doubt, or insecurity, trying to convince you of something that isn't true. If you give them space, if you water them with constant attention, they will grow into heavy burdens that weigh you down. But when you recognize that not every thought belongs to you, you can choose to let it pass without holding on to it. This is where your strength lies, the ability to decide which thoughts get to stay and which ones have no place in your life. Your thoughts are not just random words floating through your mind. They are powerful forces that quietly shape the way you see yourself and the way you live your life. If you constantly tell yourself you are not capable, those words will start to define your actions, making you hesitant, fearful, and unwilling to step into opportunities that are meant for you. On the other hand, if you choose to believe you are strong and equipped, you will begin to act with confidence, courage, and determination. What you dwell on today becomes the direction you walk in tomorrow. This is why guarding your thoughts is so important. They are like a steering wheel that sets the course of your future. A single thought repeated enough times can either trap you in a cycle of defeat or launch you into a place of victory. When you shift your focus from fear to faith, from doubt to determination, from weakness to strength, you take control of where your life is headed. The moment you realize that your thoughts are not just harmless visitors but powerful guides, you will become intentional about choosing the ones that push you forward and dropping the ones that hold you back. You cannot stop thoughts from entering your mind, because that is simply how the human brain works. Worries, fears, doubts, and even distractions will show up uninvited, and many of them will sound convincing at first. Just because a thought appears, though, does not mean it deserves to remain. The danger comes when you allow those thoughts to linger long enough to plant themselves deep inside, growing roots that affect the way you see yourself and the way you move through life. A passing thought has no real power until you give it attention and agreement. The mind may whisper, "You're not enough," or "You'll never succeed." But those words only gain strength if you choose to dwell on them. Imagine a bird flying over your head. It is free to pass by, but you would never allow it to build a nest in your hair. In the same way, you cannot always control the arrival of a thought, but you can control whether it makes a home in your mind. This is the choice that sets you free. When you recognize a thought that does not serve your growth, you have the authority to let it go. You do not have to wrestle with it endlessly or argue with it until you are drained. You can simply decide not to feed it, not to entertain it, and move on. Releasing harmful thoughts opens the door for new ones. Thoughts of peace, confidence, and courage to step in and guide your path forward. Negative thoughts drain your energy in ways you often don't even realize. They sit quietly in the back of your mind, whispering lies that keep you second guessing yourself. Over time, they pile up like invisible weights on your shoulders, slowing down your progress and making even simple tasks feel harder than they really are. The more you carry them, the heavier they become, and before long, you start to believe the false story they are telling about who you are and what you are capable of. Carrying negative thoughts is like walking through life with a heavy backpack filled with bricks. Every step feels harder, every climb feels steeper, and eventually the journey becomes exhausting. You might even find yourself stopping along the way, not because the road is impossible, but because of the unnecessary weight you chose to keep. This is why so many people feel drained and discouraged. They are carrying burdens that were never meant for them in the first place. When you decide to drop those thoughts, it's like putting down that backpack. Suddenly, the path doesn't feel as overwhelming, and the strength you thought you lost comes rushing back. You realize you're not weak. You were just weighed down. Letting go of negativity doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means refusing to let destructive thoughts control how you see yourself or your future. It's choosing freedom over bondage and lightness over heaviness. The truth is, Life will always present enough challenges on its own without you carrying unnecessary mental baggage. If you are going to finish strong, if you are going to live with joy, peace, and determination, you cannot afford to be weighed down by thoughts that rob you of energy. Release them, let them fall behind you, and move forward lighter, stronger, and more focused on the journey ahead. When destructive thoughts rise up and tell you that you are not enough, the most powerful response you can give is to replace those lies with truth. Your mind is like a canvas, and whatever you allow to stay there will eventually paint the picture of your reality. If you let the lies of fear, shame, or inadequacy dominate, that picture will always look dim and hopeless. But when you choose to replace those lies with affirmations of truth, you begin to redraw the image of your life into one filled with hope, strength, and possibility. The words you speak to yourself matter more than the words spoken by anyone else. You may not always be able to stop people from criticizing or doubting you, but you can always choose how you respond inside. If your inner voice becomes your biggest critic, you will constantly feel defeated. But if your inner voice becomes your greatest encourager, you will find the courage to rise even in the face of obstacles. This is why learning to speak truth over your life is not just a practice, it is a necessity for growth. Replacing lies with truth is not about ignoring reality, it is about framing reality through the lens of hope and possibility. When the thought says, "You can't do this," you can answer with, "I may not know everything, but I can learn and I can grow." When the thought says, "You failed too many times," you can respond with, "Each failure was a lesson preparing me for success." It is about flipping the script and refusing to let negativity write the story of your life. Every time you speak truth over a lie, you weaken the grip that lie has on your mind. Lies grow stronger when they go unchallenged, but the moment you confront them with truth, they begin to lose their power. Over time, this practice reshapes the way you think, giving you a healthier and stronger mindset. Instead of constantly wrestling with doubts, you begin to naturally believe in your worth and capability. Imagine the freedom of waking up each day no longer dominated by the lies that once held you back, but filled with truths that propel you forward. That kind of freedom doesn't just change how you think, it changes how you live. You walk with more confidence, you take greater risks, and you refuse to settle for less than what you were created to be. It all begins with a simple but powerful choice. When a lie comes, don't hold it, replace it with truth. Peace is one of the greatest treasures you can carry in your life, but it doesn't come from everything around you being perfect. It comes from the ability to control what you allow into your mind and heart. Chaos will always be present in some form, whether through circumstances, pressure, or challenges, but peace is the decision to anchor yourself in stability even when storms are raging all around. It is not about pretending problems don't exist. It is about refusing to let those problems dominate the atmosphere inside you. Every day, you are faced with countless opportunities to either protect your peace or surrender it. A negative comment, a sudden setback, or even a small inconvenience can try to drag you into frustration and anxiety. If you are not intentional, your peace can be stolen before you even realize it. That's why guarding your mind is so important. Just like you would not leave the front door of your home wide open for strangers to walk in, you cannot leave your thoughts unguarded for destructive influences to take over. Protecting peace starts with learning to recognize what belongs and what does not. Not every argument deserves your voice. Not every opinion deserves your energy. Not every worry deserves a seat in your heart. When you give everything the same level of attention, you invite unnecessary chaos into your life. True strength is found in the ability to say, "This doesn't serve me, so I won't carry it." That simple act of letting go becomes a shield that keeps your inner world calm, even if the outer world is noisy. Peace also requires you to build habits that reinforce calmness rather than stress. Sometimes this means stepping back, taking a deep breath, and reminding yourself that not every battle is yours to fight. It may mean surrounding yourself with people who uplift you instead of those who stir negativity. It may even mean disconnecting from things that fuel anxiety, whether that's certain environments, conversations, or even constant scrolling through negativity online. These small choices may not seem significant at first, but they add up to a powerful lifestyle of peace. When you choose peace over chaos, you give yourself the space to think clearly and make wiser decisions. Anxiety clouds judgment, but peace opens your eyes to solutions you would have otherwise missed. Instead of reacting impulsively, you begin to respond thoughtfully. Instead of being controlled by circumstances, you take control of how you move through them. This doesn't just change how you feel in the moment. It changes the outcome of your entire journey. In the end, peace is not something you stumble upon. It is something you cultivate daily. It is the result of consistently refusing to let destructive thoughts and chaotic distractions dominate your mind. The world may never stop being noisy, but you can always choose what you tune into. By protecting your peace and making it a priority, you create an inner strength that no storm can shake. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of calm in the middle of them, and it is a choice you can make every single day. It is easy to confuse what passes through your mind with who you are, but the two are not the same. A thought may tell you that you are unworthy, unlovable, or incapable, but that does not mean those words define your identity. Thoughts are fleeting. They come and go like clouds across the sky, but your true identity is deeper and stronger than anything that drifts through your mind. The danger comes when you begin to mistake the passing shadow for the permanent truth, believing that because you had a thought, it must somehow be who you are. A bad thought doesn't make you a bad person. Just because your mind drifts into fear, anger, or doubt does not mean you are broken beyond repair. It simply means you are human. Every person battles with thoughts that don't align with who they want to be. The difference between growth and defeat lies in what you choose to do with those thoughts when they arrive. If you treat them like facts, they will weigh you down. If you treat them like passing noise, you can let them move on without attaching them to your identity. When you tie your identity to your thoughts, you give them more power than they deserve. A single moment of doubt can trick you into believing you are defined by insecurity. A single mistake can convince you that you are a failure. But the truth is, you are not your fear, you are not your mistake, and you are not your weakness. You are more than the worst thought you've ever had. Who you are cannot be measured by a fleeting idea. It is measured by the greater purpose and potential within you. Think of it like walking past a mirror that distorts your reflection. For a second, you may look taller, shorter, or bent out of shape, but you know that mirror is not the truth about you. In the same way, some thoughts are nothing more than distorted reflections. They may feel convincing in the moment, but they do not capture your real self. If you anchor your worth to those distorted images, you will always feel unstable. But if you anchor your worth to something solid and unchanging, no thought can steal your identity. This is why separating your thoughts from your identity is an act of freedom. It allows you to acknowledge that while a thought may enter your mind, it does not have the authority to define your value. You can observe it, recognize it for what it is, and then release it. You don't have to accept every thought as truth. You can choose which ones align with your true self and which ones must be left behind. That choice is what keeps you from being enslaved by your own mind. When you start to see yourself apart from your thoughts, you also start to see the power you have over them. You begin to live with a new awareness that thoughts are visitors, not rulers. They may knock on the door of your mind, but you decide which ones get to stay and which ones are turned away. This perspective transforms the way you handle challenges, because instead of sinking into shame every time a bad thought arises, you learn to stand in confidence knowing that a thought is just a thought, nothing more. In the end, you are not defined by what crosses your mind. You are defined by the choices you make and the truth you live by. You are stronger than the lies, bigger than the doubts, and greater than the insecurities that try to attach themselves to you. A thought can never determine your worth unless you let it. So the next time fear, shame, or doubt whispers to you, remind yourself, this is not who I am. It's only a thought, and I have the power to let it go. So today, if there is a thought weighing you down, if there is a lie whispering in your ear, or if there is a memory from the past that keeps replaying in your mind, make the choice to let it go. You don't have to carry it any longer. Drop that thought, release that weight, and step forward into the freedom, peace, and strength that were always meant for you.